expected? Every error you're experiencing OBS is one that you wish to be experiencing at this moment? You see what I'm doing with my finger? Hello. I mean, as you arrive, hello. Good evening, in fact. There's a dog. Oh. Well, we'll get the party started as folks arrive here. We'll go grab some volcano, do a dab or two as we get more and more of the crew. Have a lie down, buddy. Have a lie down. Yeah, good boy. There's a dog in between my legs. Yeah, so while we're letting people arrive and get showing up to the party, I'm enjoying reviewing. Started the review process earlier today. I'm finally reviewing the Dart, the CC Cell, Dart CC Cell. Yes, I said that correctly. Hello, Stephanie. So glad you could join us again. I think you're one of our all timers, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much. So yeah, I just started reviewing this today. The Dart system, yet another pod-based system. It's also a little strange. One of the more, I don't know, sort of different systems in that it says Moxie all over it, but that's just branding. It's actually basically the Dart system is kind of you add your own branding on top, like a lot of 510 batteries. CC Cell is basically just like a company that makes different cart designs, different pod designs, and now they make their own pod system that people brand on top of. It's actually very popular, the Dart system. I see it all over the place. I get a lot of people asking me about it, and finally just got one. Brittany Collins, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. Brittany says she is joining from Wisco, which is that Wisconsin or maybe some city or town that I am not familiar with. If you are from Wisconsin, well, thanks for watching from the land of cheese. Wisconsin, what else is there about Wisconsin? Cheese. Dairy. Paul Ryan. Yeah, Wisconsin. A bizarrely Wisconsin. It's the one of those many states that holds an outsized sort of an outsized amount of political power based upon the number of residents that are there. Brittany says they are the Badger State and the Cheese Packers. Badgers. Brittany, I think Badgers are probably one of those things that is so utterly localized to that tiny little Midwest area where you find badgers, because I think the rest of the country that doesn't have badgers, I mean, I've lived on the East Coast and West Coast, and I've never seen a badger in my life. I mean, I don't know what they look like thanks to media, but I've never actually seen one in the wild. But I know all the Midwest folks are like, fucking goddamn badgers, these stupid things. To me, they just seem like they're these mystical creatures, but that is just a result of geography. Jude says, yay, hi, how are you doing? I'm doing good, Jude. Hey, Jude, how are you? Stephanie says, oh, Stephanie is tuning in from Santa Barbara. I didn't know you were a Californian as well, just up the coast. I have not been to Santa Barbara, shamefully. My little brother almost moved there at one point, not too long ago, from take a job. But he didn't. But I haven't been to Santa Barbara, but I've heard nothing but incredible, wonderful things about it, other than the expense, which is supposed to be very high. Stephanie, are you associated with the school in any way? UC Santa Barbara? Nick Vitanza. Hello, Nick says, ripping on a blue burst steezy. And cheers. Well, enjoy, Nick. Thanks so much for tuning in with us. I hope you are enjoying that blue burst steezy. Ed Foley says, hi from Redlands, California. Welcome back, Ed Foley. Right, Ed, you're Ed. Welcome back, Ed. I'm glad you're here. And Stephanie confirms that UC, well, not UC Santa Barbara, just the city of Santa Barbara is beautiful. Jude is doing good and nice and lifted right now. Glad to hear that for you, Jude. It's very cool, man. Glad to hear it. Brittany Collins says, I want to be a Californian. Long Beach in honor of Sublime. Yes, it is our, boy, there's a lot of love, believe it or not, for Sublime out here. There's actually a mural very, very, very close to where we live, I guess, of the long departed lead singer of Sublime. And I just thought it was of some guy, and my wife recently is like, no, you dumbass, it's the lead singer of Sublime. And I'm like, oh, that makes total and complete sense. And I am a dumbass. So pour one out for Sublime. Yay for Long Beach for Sublime. We also have Snoop Dogg. We claim him, I think. And we also have Sublime, Snoop Dogg. What else do we have here from Long Beach? Paradise. We don't have a lot of celebrities or very successful people coming from Long Beach because once you're here, you don't feel like you need to. You don't need to impress anybody. You're already where you want to be. It drives that ambition right out of you. Stephanie, not associated with UC Santa Barbara, just living the life in beautiful SBCA. Joey says, sorry to interject, but I'm in the market for a gaming chair. The one you're sitting on looks similar to the one I'm interested in purchase. Is the gaming chair a gaming chair or simply a colorful office chair? Joey, yes. One of the internet's favorite things to argue about is office chairs, and specifically garishly colored gaming racing chairs. So I have, I guess, one of the nicer racing chair ones. It is a market improvement over the IKEA office chair I had been using. I've had this for like 2.5 years. Had been using an IKEA office chair for 2 years before that. Definitely better than that. It is quite comfortable. Glad I got it. But if I were to do it over again, Joey, I would have. I likely would have suffered the not suffered. That's the wrong choice of word. I would have just continued using the IKEA office chair for a couple more years and invested in something one level up, and not like necessarily a gaming focused chair, or except maybe now that Logitech and Herman Miller have announced a collaboration to make their fancy, beloved rich people office desk chairs, but now with fancy gaming lights in it. So maybe I'll get one of those if I ever super successful. So I will never have one. But yes, Joey, to answer your question more succinctly, I am very glad that I have a nicer chair than I had before. And if you're going to spend a lot of time, aka if you're working from home now, it is worth it to get a better chair. I am not sure that you need to get a quote-unquote gaming chair. I mean, they all operate under kind of the same assumption for high-end office chairs. They're doing sort of similar things. But maybe do your research and maybe, well, I don't know how you would get the opportunity to test some out, but a chair is probably something that if you have the opportunity to try before you buy, you might want to do so. But my ultimate answer is be way richer than you are and buy, one of the an Eames or a fucking Herman Miller. I'm probably saying that wrong because I'm not German. Brittany Collins says, "Take a picture for me." What do you mean? Take a picture of what, Brittany? Oh, Brittany. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my God, Brittany, I'm sorry. Yes, of the Sublime mural. I will. I will try to remember. I'm going to say it out loud. Take a photo of the Sublime mural, and I will upload it to Twitter next time I am out that way, which will probably be tomorrow. Jude says both Snoop Dogg is awesome and chair races is a fun thought. That was from The Office, right? The Dunder Mifflin Olympics, the Dundies. No, that was a different thing. Boy, The Office, man, what a weird phenomenon that is. More popular than it's ever been, and The Office is insanely popular with teenagers. Like, there are, people who are fans of The Office, big, giant, massive fans of The Office, that were not alive when the show started, for sure. I guess it's kind of similar to, I was definitely alive when Seinfeld started, but I was a fan of Seinfeld. The biggest. Oh, there goes a dog. Look what he's done. But yes, I find it really strange, the phenomenon of teenagers loving The Office. It seems so of a time and of a place, and one that it seems like a world that almost doesn't, is totally unrecognizable to them. That, or at least would to me, the idea of going to an 9-to-5 office. But it's great. I love it. Who doesn't love the fact that kids love great television like The Office? But it is strange. And probably still making Netflix quite worried about its impending departure. And probably making Peacock quite happy about its impending arrival. Mark says strawberry cough over there. Oh my God, guys, I haven't done anything. I've just been talking. I owed like a penance dab and a, holy shit, sorry. Let me go take care of that. I'm already quite hyped. So, penance dab. We were talking about The Office. Hello, Squid. You knocked my sign over there, buddy. You see that, right? Making my way through this ounce, holy shit, this gram of live Marv's something is the name. It's a very good description of it. Oh, producer Brittany Collins, producer coming through with you, for you. Just a second, and I will show you said mural. Thank you, producer. Another dog. Where do these things keep coming from? Just a second. What is it, buddy? Guys, I realize I have my back turned to everybody. How cool am I? That's how blasé I am. Alright. I'm here for real now. Okay, I apologize for that. So, hi Squiddy. Hi buddy. You're a good dog. You're a good dog. Lost the studio. Oh, Brittany, yes. Let me show you that link that my producer just sent this way. Oh, shart. Here is the Long Beach Sublime Wall with dogs. Sorry guys about chat and ignoring everybody and just being kind of spacey. Believe it or not, I'm high. Ethan, welcome back. Ethan says, King Louis, plug and play. Oh, lucky man, Ethan. Lucky man with that plug play. A little jealous, to be honest. Jude asks what I'm drinking. Good question, Jude. It's these gross energy drinky thing. It is not good for your health. You shouldn't do it. I shouldn't do it. Shame on me. But it is not an alcoholic beverage, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately. I know I've done this many times on the stream. I don't really drink alcohol pretty much at all. I can't tell you the last time I actually had any. I'm trying to remember. Nothing, I don't have any problem with it morally or ethically, anything like that. It just makes me feel quite sick quite easily. So I just avoid it. Which, you know, not kind of a bummer, but not that upset by that fact. Brittany Collin. Oh, sorry. Yes, you'll see it up there on chat now. Jude says, how's the ice cream business? You must be doing well on the hot days. Jude, first off, thank you so much for the very nice question and excellent memory. It's very kind of you. So Jude, two things about that. Number one, no hot days. It has not been, it's been like 73 for like the past 2 or 3 weeks. All, you know, as a high. But more importantly, there has been very little ice cream sold recently because they are the local Long Beach city government is trying hard not to, and understandable. I'm not upset by this, but they are less permissive of people, I guess, selling stuff at the beach as a matter of trying to get people to prevent people from congregating or making lines, things of that nature. So I have not sold a lot of ice cream very recently because of the old novel coronavirus. The same reason I thought you would sell a lot of ice cream, but then it got way, way worse. I kind of thought, oh boy, you know, maybe we were going to do better than we did. we didn't. King Yeti, welcome, King Yeti. So glad you could join us again. And then X Step People says, do you still do cartridge and edible reviews? X Step People, I certainly do. Thank you for asking. I've got a couple. I do about 2 reviews a week now. I will have a new review out tomorrow. In fact, it will be an edible review. X Step says, when's the next edible cartridge review? I just answered that question. You didn't know that. I'm just reading that the same way you wrote it. King Yeti said, I've had maybe 20 beers in the last year. Glad to hear it, man. Well, I mean, it's always such a weird way to describe it. It's, I never know how to actually respond to somebody telling me how, like, if somebody's like, man, and I'm not saying King Yeti in this in any way I'm just using this as kind of an example. It's like, oh, well, by saying like, oh, that's awesome, man. You only had 20 beers last year. That's great. Congrats, dude. I feel like by saying that, you're sort of insinuating that that person had a problem, or that maybe you thought they shouldn't have been drinking as much, because why else would you be congratulating them unless they were doing something that was positive for them? So yeah, I always find it weird. I'm never quite sure what to say when people tell me like, oh, you know, I'm drinking way less, or I'm consuming this way less. It's like, I want to say, oh, congrats, that's awesome, because I assume you're telling me because you're pleased with that, but at the same time, I don't want to suggest that I thought you had a problem. Weird. Sorry. Long explanation. King Yeti says, King Yeti's doing the black coffee instead of the booze right now. That is quite the substitution. Booze for coffee. I similarly also, like, I don't drink alcohol. I don't drink coffee. I actually don't drink any hot beverages. I don't like hot beverages. Like, period. I don't even quite get the appeal. Which would make me a very, very bad Anglophile. There's some disagreement from the rafters, but yeah, I just hot beverages. I like a beverage to be refreshing, and how can something hot be refreshing? Boy, I got to get on some more interesting topics than how one likes their beverages. Somebody give me something controversial. Brian Pigs. Wow. Is that your name, Brian Pigs? If so, that's so awesome. That's the greatest last name I think I've ever heard in my life. Can I call you Mr. Pigs? Mr. Pigs says, for a volcano novice, can you estimate how many dubs worth of smoke is in that full balloon? Okay. So, Brian Pigs, I like that. That's a very good question. So I would say, Brian, how big do you make your joints? Are you like a gram joint kind of person? Because so the way the oven works, it has this little filling chamber. It's that little tiny thing next to the volcano. And you put your dried ground weaved in it. The hot air comes up and makes the vapor. But that filling chamber takes probably about half a gram of material. And I would say that you get 3 bags, 3 of these size bags for, I do about 3 bags per filling chamber. So that's half a gram gets 3 bags. So you will have to convert yourself based upon how large your joints are. But my guess is they're probably somewhere in the 1/4 to 1 gram range. So this is probably less than one joint's worth of weed. I think. King Yeti says, I know you don't care about strain so much, but have you ever thought about doing strain reviews? King Yeti, I would. I would love to, but the thing, it's not only that I don't like notice the difference between strains, it's that I think there's such a fundamental misunderstanding and would be such a I think there's going to be in the future a lot of like holy shit people out there when they realize how fuzzy all of those labels are. There is zero consistency between let's say a cherry pie strain that I would buy here in Southern California and that somebody else would buy in, say, Colorado. It doesn't even have to be that far apart. It could be two farms on the same, in the same town growing cherry pie, and both of those things would be totally different. Like, if you would do like like a spectrometry, like basically, like a spectral analysis, and would look at it, in the most sort of minute detail, you would find that strains from single farms that are different, like a cherry pie and a, I don't know, chem dog at one farm is probably going to be more related than a cherry pie at another farm a state over, than the two totally different strains being sold from one farm. Because there's no lodestar, there's no strain, there's no like, this is the textbook definition of what a Gorilla Glue number 4 is. It doesn't exist. It's anybody is free to call anything whatever they want. There are no regulations, and people are definitely doing that, because why not? I'm not suggesting that people are committing like total fraud or whatever. I think they're getting their shit lab tested and accurately reporting how much THC and CBD and CBN and THCA and all that shit. I just, the idea that if I were to review some strain, that anybody else who would want to like know something very specific about that strain, and could learn from my experience, it's just not true. And I think it's a disservice that like, websites like Leafly or whatever are out there that have these incredibly specific, ultra detailed, like fucking bar graphs that show all of these different metrics about all these strains, when who knows what one they're talking about. It's just, there really is, until, there is like some governing body and every farm decides to become, make sure their weed gets branded under that governing body, and that, governing body determines what is a blue dream and what is not a blue dream. Until that time, like, you're just going to get people calling whatever they want blue dream. And I just feel like doing a review of whatever I get from someplace is just not gonna in any way match up to anybody else's experience. I could be wrong. There could be way more consistency than I think, but I just don't have any reason to believe that is true. Because, yeah, it just... I've talked about this before on the stream. I would love to do the trial of Paris for weed, where I would get people people who have very attuned senses to very specific strains and can tell the difference between strains, and then basically run double-blind experiments to see whether that is true, using a variety of, placebos and shit. I don't know. I would love to do a trial of Paris for weed. I think somebody should do it. I really think it would be a fascinating project, and would I truly believe if you did it and you did it well and you did it right, man, there would be some really punctured egos out there. So, boy, that was I am so far behind in chat. I got really lost there in that rant. Dathy Goylan, I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name, says Guinness for strength. Cool. Guinness. They're Irish. I know that about them. And they are beer. And it's thick. It's supposed to taste like bread. X-Step people, thanks so much for the kind words. And King Yeti says, so you like ramen juice? If I eat soup, which I don't eat soup that often, if I do, I'm not the one who drinks the soup remains. X-Step people says, how do I feel about Chris D'Elia? I'm not 100% sure I know who that is. Please let me know. I'm not sure if I have an opinion or not on Mr. or Mrs. D'Elia. X-Step people says, do you enjoy stand-up? X-Step people, yes and no. Yes, I do. I find a lot of stand-up comedy to be very, please don't think of me as some smug ass, predictable. Many stand-up specials, once the setups are established, it's very easy knowing the comedian, predicting the sort of trajectory of all of their jokes. That's a lot of people really like that, and comedy is kind of getting something you would, in your wheelhouse, something you kind of, I need something. I like jokes that just are totally unexpected, out of left field, that just leave you sort of kind of speechless at where that punchline came from. Yeah, I find it very easy in stand-up specials to, once that setup is established, it's like, okay, I know where this is going. And often I find a lot of big stand-up specials hit the same themes over and over. And a lot of it is very navel-gazy. Stand-up comedians love to talk about how they're repressed all the time. And I'm just really fucking tired of hearing about how sad stand-up comics are, that they can't say shit anymore, which isn't true. But, that whole routine has been done for so long. That being said, when there is stand-up comedy that is truly novel, original, something, I mean, it doesn't even have to be good, as long as it's something that is just new, different, something that is, I could, that, as I said, leaves you kind of like, holy shit, where the fuck did that come from? I have no idea what people's opinion of him is. I have no idea if people hate, I mean, I assume he's kind of his thing is being an asshole, but I have no idea if he's like a respected comic, or if people think of him as a hack, or has been, whatever. One of my favorite stand-up comedians is, for sure, is Anthony Jeselnik. I mean, he's definitely a shock comedian, which is usually not something I go for is somebody who thinks that just saying the most vulgar things is funny. I mean, vulgar things are funny. I love vulgar things. Fuck is one of the funniest words. Shit, great. Diarrhea, amazing. Love vulgarity. But you got to have a joke behind the poop. Not necessarily always true. Poop can be just funny on its own. That's true. But Anthony Jeselnik is definitely goes for shock value, but his punchlines, every single joke, every single time on his specials, it's like, where the fuck did that come from? How the fuck did, like, I like to think of jokes as like puzzles, I guess. I do. I think of jokes as like little puzzles. And I always like to think like, okay, well, how do you get to the punchline? What is the setup is like is basically like a riddle. And the punchline is like the solution to the riddle. But the jokes that just I love are the ones that are like the best riddles that you're like, how the fuck did somebody craft that? Where did that come from? What is the set of what is the thought process that led somebody down that chain of events? Yeah, those are the kind of jokes I go for, and that's just off the top of my head. A comedy special, Anthony Jeselnik. He has like 2 Netflix specials. Watch them. They may not be your thing, and I wouldn't hold it against you if you just thought it was terrible, but at least you won't find it unoriginal, I don't think. King Yeti says, if you get from the breeder, if the strain, you should be good, like B-Reals or Dr. Green Thumb, or like the Jungle Boys. King Yeti. So, back to the earlier rant about strains and strain-specific things and different farms. I 100% agree with you, King Yeti, that it's about the breeder and that, you can get consistent shit from breeders. Like, again, the Jungle Boys, like you had mentioned yesterday, I'm sure they have a very consistent, the sort of genetic lineage of their cat piss strain is probably pretty good. But if I were to review Jungle Boys' cat piss, which is just a wonderful sentence, if I were to review Jungle Boys' cat piss, it just would not be the same as Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity Farms cat piss from somewhere else. And somebody who bought something based on a recommendation and then went to go buy cat piss from Rudy Toot and Fred and Fresh and Fruity could very easily think, what the hell is that guy talking about? This is nothing like what he said. Because it wouldn't be. It's very likely it would not be. Boy, sorry guys, I'm gonna speed around, get caught up on some chat. I'm real far behind. Says, Jude says, there's no consistency because of terps, nutrients, and skill levels. Yes, Jude, those are just a few of the infinite number of factors that can cause genetic deviations from the original strain line. But what is the original strain line? And why would you ever assume that some farm in New Mexico has the same access to the same strain as some farm does in Tacoma, Washington? It's just, they didn't. Hello, Hattie Mora123 on Twitch. Sorry it took so long to get to your message. Thanks for joining us. King Yeti says, I know what green crack is supposed to smell and taste like. If I went to a shop and they had it and it didn't have the terp profile, and look, I know it's not green crack. You know what I mean? I do know what you mean, King Yeti. And I do know that there is, according to websites like Leafly, there is some idea of what the sort of perfect quintessential example of green crack is supposed to be, in that when people are selling green crack that they try to maybe have it match to that. But there is no way to know or assume that, like, and also, in addition to just the fact that, like, even though if things look and smell the same, they may be totally still different 100%. I mean, obviously not 100% genetically, but you know what I mean. There are, oh, I can't even remember where I was going with that. I can get it. I totally get what you're saying, and I'm being extreme in my argument where I'm suggesting that there is no there is no similarity. It's all variance all the time. It's turtles all the way down. I don't think that's necessarily 100% true, but my suspicion that the market is less precise than it hopes to be, coupled with the fact that I am very bad about telling the difference between strains personally. I just can't. I sometimes like to think to myself, maybe I notice differences between things that are marketed as very heavy indicas and very pure sativas. But just like this is the other point I was about to make that I had totally forgotten, which is it is very hard to overstate, like, the confirmation bias and when you have this idea that green crack is this and it has these features, and somebody shows you something and calls it green crack, well, you're already gonna lend that some level of belief because you're going to this place to purchase something. Obviously, you have some level of trust in them, and our brains are so suggestible, and it's so. I'm not suggesting that's what's happening with you in any way, shape, or form, King Yeti. But I know it is with me on occasion that I am, can be affected by suggestibility, and that if somebody told me that things had these certain attributes, I would start to see those just because, I want to, and the power of suggestibility. Dathi says, where you smoke has an effect on the high too. Outdoor grown gets me where I want to be. I've heard that as well, that some people say that whether it is a lab grown weed does not have the same effect on them as a good old fashioned up from Mother Earth weed. I don't know if I could tell the difference. I don't know if I've ever really tried to discern a difference, but it is, again, one of the many things that people are way better than me at discerning. I am not a discerning human being. R. Carroll 98 says he strains historic phenotypes were first noted in the 1970s by one of America's first international strain hunters, Ed Rosenthal. And then beneath R. Carroll 98 is nice quote there. Welcome, R. Carroll. We've got bowel stench for days. Yo, do you like stand-up? Says bowel stench for days. Bowel stench for days. That's weird that somebody also asked that question. I would like any stand-up that includes people who have the comedic stylings of names like Bowel Stench for Days, which is such an incredible name, man. Ah, Bowel Stench for Days. Poop stink for days. Lenore says, there is a new but old scientific novelty I just read about, that the Arctic glaciers are melting. We may have an Atlantis-sized society. Oh, yes. Yeah, Lenore, I'd heard about that little thing, too, that, I had heard that there's this rumor that humans have been pumping ungodly amounts of this fucking atom, this dumb little goddamn atom, like a puny fucking atom. Sure, they've been sending a couple of, billions raised to the billionth power of them out into the atmosphere, but like, apparently people think that these dumb atoms, again, carbon atoms, well, actually, it's more of an isotope, but don't tell anybody that, that those dumb atoms are gonna make us all get warmer. Scientists, right? And how can there be global warming when it's 65 degrees right now in Southern California? Global warming? Yeah, right. Checkmate, scientists. King Yeti letting us know that he has the olfactory prowess of a weed sommelier, and he can identify strains. Ow, shit, I just flicked my nostrils. That was fun, but painful. You can sniff the strains. I do like the smell of a good, weed has very different tastes and odors. I'll be the first to admit that. I mean, even my undiscerning, boorish American ass can tell you that weed tastes and smells very different, depending on what you are consuming. Boy, okay, I've got to get caught up on chat. I keep getting further and further behind. Cartier says, why do you care so much to let people believe that strains matter that much? Cartier says, why do you care so much? LOL, let people believe that strains matter that much. Oh, Cartier, sorry. I do. I absolutely, and I apologize if I came across as doubting. I do not doubt anybody's ability to tell the difference between strains, or that people have vastly different experiences on strains. I believe people, absolutely. There's no reason not to. I mean, why would somebody ever make that up? I believe it completely. I'm only saying that it is not the case for me, and that is why I would not be good at reviewing strains, is that I find, as just a personal matter, my experience between strains is negligible. I just don't want to lead people astray by saying things that aren't true or correct, that aren't mostly universal. Bowstench for Day says, oh, it's for sure all the same. I don't remember what that was in reference to because it was over 15 minutes ago. Shit, shame on me. Bowstench says, dude, 100% get tired of repetitive comics. Yes, but back to, comedian things, yeah. But I think way more comedians are stale and repetitive than I think many people do. I think I don't know. I love comedy. King Yeti says, Mitch Hedberg was the best at that. King Yeti, yes, you pointed out absolutely. Mitch Hedberg is the exact kind of style of comedian I'm talking about. Somebody that is out to do what I think of a joke should be to do, which is to. A joke essentially is saying something unexpected, and that's what Mitch Hedberg was a fucking master at. God rest his soul. I assume chat is going to be a series of listings of respected dead comedians. I'm going to guess we're going to see some Carlin, maybe some Bill Hicks. Usually when one of these guys comes up, the rest of them do, which is great because they deserve all the respect in the world. Lenore says, I feel strains have very specific uses. I primarily vape weed. I have OG Kush, and I say it serves better as a blunt weed than vape weed. So Lenore uses their strains not only does it seem like it has very specific uses for strains, but also very specific uses for different ingestion methods, whether it's vaping or blunts, different strains for those as well. King Yeti says NI5 is my favorite weed ever, not the strongest, but his favorite, and it's the second strongest. What is the strongest, King Yeti? Oh, Rick Greenwood says, I miss George Carlin. Boom, that's one. King Yeti says, that's I've. Oh, got it. I'm gonna have to just keep going. Skip. Brian Pigman says, have we gone too far with THC strains? You mentioned 2% THC weed from the 70s last night. Is today's weed too psychoactive? Many landrace strains from the past had more reasonable THC to CBD ratios. Landrace is a term I've not heard before. Maybe heirloom, is that a synonym for it? So is it that we've gone too far? I don't think necessarily. No. And especially the market is so huge right now that it can serve all of those interests. I mean, you can buy, if you really want it, you can buy weed that was as shitty as it was in the 70s. Somebody will surely sell you some old skunk weed. And I think it's not, I think there are people out there that are still growing stuff that isn't crazy high on THC percentage. And also, I think a lot of the stuff that has very, very high THC percentage isn't done so much. I don't know if this is actually true or not. This is total speculation on my part. But the shit that is crazy high THC percentage that is weed, I assume is done for two purposes. One is mostly for bragging rights so that some lab can, win some crown somewhere. And two, outside of bragging rights, the reason you grow super high THC concentrate weed is probably less for the weed itself and more for making concentrates. That if you're going to be, making, vape cartridges or even edibles or tinctures or whatever, having very high THC percentage weed is a huge help. And that I assume a lot of that, that sort of push to ever increase THC percentage in weed also comes from the other stuff made from weed, not necessarily the weed that you smoke, but more weed edibles and tinctures and concentrates and shit. But that, I don't actually know that for sure. Dathy says, those old comedy sketch shows are hilarious. Hale and Pace and the Two Ronnies should check them out. I will have to check those out. So my wife and I, the thing I've probably consumed most over this past year in terms of media, I love sketch comedy when it's good. Like, good sketch comedy is some of my favorite fucking shit ever, including, I know I've talked about it so many times, but if you have not watched I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson on Netflix, the best sketch comedy ever made. Yes, I love Kids in the Hall. Yes, I don't care about your favorite classic Saturday Night Live skit. I don't care about your favorite avant-garde Second City skit. I don't care about your favorite skit that you saw that one time at that UCB show. You need to watch I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson for the best sketch comedy ever made. There are some of those sketches that I've watched a dozen times and often find myself laughing more than the time that I did before. They are unbelievable. I mean, just unbelievable. masterpieces, every single one. Not a single bad skit across the whole collection. If you like your comedy, fucking weird, you must watch I Think You Should Leave. Also, not just weird, but it is also cringe comedy, for sure. So even if you have a tolerance for weird shit, if cringe comedy isn't your thing, also avoid. Okay, guys, I'm afraid I have to wrap up, so I'm going to 100% amazing speed round it. I'm going to finish this bag. I'm going to do a penance dab, and then I'm going to wrap up. So here we go. We have more talk about Jungle Boys weed. Hello, Baba, who said, Bow Stench for Days says, R.I.P. Joe Rogan. If only. Bradley Fouch says, I'm back. I'm tuning in for a second time. Nice catching you for a second live stream. Thanks for joining us again, Bradley. Cool name again. And I appreciate you tuning in again, man. Thanks so much. King Yeti says, the stealing of names makes it worse. Yes, all of this is worse because there are no trademark copyright protections for weed because those are all federal things. So if you come up with your own strain, well, everybody's come up with it because you can't get any kind of federal protections to prevent people from just ripping you off. Sir Locke says, what do you guys think about the Delta 8 flower? Sir Locke, somebody else asked that last night. Not last night, maybe sometime last week. I have not tried it, and I forgot to do more research about it. I don't really know much about it. I assume it is... I actually don't really know what it is, other than it's not Delta 9. Maybe it is a synthetic? I don't know. Or a genetically modified weed to avoid legality issues. I don't know, but I will look it up if I can remember. Rick Greenwood says, I don't care about the strain. I look for the effect it has on me. Good man. Jude says, were you serious about global warming? I'm too high to tell. I live near glaciers that are melting. Jude, yes, I was being very, 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 very facetious. I hope I did not. I apologize for confusing you. I was mocking climate change deniers, which is such a gentle fucking term. Like, they're so good about branding, and we're so terrible and gentle about it. Why do we lend them so much credence with the term climate change denier, as if it's like just a position one can take? Like, I mean, even denier just to me is not a harsh enough thing to denote somebody who just sticks their fingers in their ears and refuses to accept reason, and not only for banal things, but for things that cause great amounts of harm. So instead of saying like climate change deniers, why don't we say mass death enablers? Yeah, that's a better term and a more accurate term, I think. Like when your grandpa says, Rush Limbaugh told me global warming doesn't exist. Why, like, he gets off easy being called a... Now, grandpa, don't be a climate change denier. Like, a more accurate term would be that your grandfather is a mass death supporter because he is advocating for letting the world deteriorate in such a fashion that will, no matter what the actual environmental effects are, will lead to social cataclysms that will lead to... I mean, yeah. We don't need to go too far down this road right now because I gotta leave. I gotta do this penance step. King Yeti says, R.I.P. Patrice O'Neal. He really is dead. And really, R.I.P. Patrice. He was a funny guy. Lenore said, I hope he didn't do anything terrible. I had the opportunity to buy some Moon Rock today. I feel like I would have vaped that. If I vaped, I for sure would have greened out. Moon Rock. See earlier conversation about stealing people's work. That was definitely a thing somebody came up with as like a very specific way to sell kinds of weed. But now everybody has Moon Rocks, and there is no real Moon Rock. But for a time, it meant basically high THC weed that was like dipped in oil and then rolled in keef and shit. It wasn't like a specific strain or anything. Okay. King Yeti says landrace means native to a certain region, pure in genes, pure sativa or pure indica. Oh, and Bowel Stench for Days changed their name from X-Stepped to Bowel. Oh, well, welcome back. So, I saw somebody mention Kids in the Hall and Whitest Kids You Know, both amazing. It's so weird that you mentioned Whitest Kids You Know. I was just talking about the Whitest Kids You Know the other day. Man, they had some classic skits. The Slow Jerk, Timmy Pooped His Pants. Love a lot of the Whitest Kids You Know. Oh, I just shared with somebody Sex Robot after so long. And that was like Saturday. Who would have ever thought I would have been having conversations about the Whitest Kids You Know 2 days in a row? Early YouTube sketch comedy is where we got Donald Glover. What was the name of the group he was in? Like something, what was it? Derek Comedy Group, I think, is where I first knew of Donald Glover. Childish Gambino himself. Mr. Troy, oh God, what's Troy's last name? That's shameful. Okay, guys, I'm going to go do one last dab, and then I'm going to say Avita Zane. KC says, how many yellows can you blue if orange was the picture? Casey, that is an excellent question. And I think, if I am not mistaken, how many yellows can you blue if orange was the picture? It's 2, but only if it's a light yellow, I think, right? It's been so wonderful hanging out with everybody tonight, as always. And we're going to have a longer live stream in the near future. And I really, truly, honestly do mean it when I say I will have a schedule out. A real schedule with real times for live streams and 2 reviews a week. Here it is. I'm on the record. Starting next week, there will be a live stream schedule and a standard time for the reviews to be uploaded. So look for it. Starting next week. Oh God, I'm now on the hook. This last dab is for all of my long-timers, my new long-timers. If my long-timers are out there, it's doubly for you. But my King Yetis, my Lenores, my Stephanies, my, who am I forgetting out there? My long-timers. You know who you are. This one's for you guys. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Okay, well, I unfortunately have to say goodnight. New review out tomorrow. Not sure what it'll be yet, but there will be a review out at some point tomorrow. Probably a live stream to follow. but I can't 100% guarantee that. But yes, next week for sure. Schedule. This time these are the times I'll live stream. I'm now just mumbling. Can't even articulate. And then there will be Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, something like that. 2 reviews out a week going forward. Fun. It's been awesome hanging out with everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. Everybody out there, stay high. Please stay healthy. And I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Good night.